When you're watching a movie like Bones and all, you might think it's just a story, but did you know there's a chilling history behind it? We're talking about the shocking history of cannibalism. You know the saying, desperate times call for desperate measures? Well, sometimes that meant people had to eat human flesh to survive. We're not just talking about isolated incidents, nah. People have consumed powdered mummies and even dug up corpses from graves. Believe it or not, these aren't just random events. They're disturbing reminders of a dark past. That'll make you wonder what people will do when they're really desperate. Let's start with the settlers of Jamestown. On May 4th, 1606, a group of 105 to 108 English men and boys arrived and established a Jamestown settlement for the Virginia Company of London. This was the first long-term English settlement in North America. The journey aboard the ships Susan Constant, Discovery and Godspeed, along with the establishment of the settlement, was sponsored by the Virginia Company of England. The company's stockholders were eager to make a profit from these resources of the New World. However, the settlers faced terrible hardships in their early years, including starvation and attacks from Native Americans. The first year at Jamestown was brutal. Out of the 104 settlers who founded the colony, only 38 survived the first winter. Disease, drought, and poor farming conditions forced the colonists to rely heavily on cargo shipments for food. Things worsened with the arrival of 300 new settlers and the harsh winter of 1609, which became known as the Starving Time. George Percy, a Jamestown settler, described the dire conditions. People were so desperate that they ate their own boots. Some even resorted to cannibalism. Percy wrote, "Nothing was spared to maintain life and to do those things that seem incredible, such as dig up dead corpses out of graves and eat them. And some have licked up the blood that's fallen from their weak fellows." For decades, historians were unsure if Percy was exaggerating. But in 2012, archaeologists discovered the bones of a 14-year-old girl with her skull cracked open to remove the brain, evidence that she had indeed been cannibalized. Eating human flesh isn't the only shocking practice in the history of cannibalism. In the 17th century, visiting the doctor could also involve some unexpected human ingredients. Believe it or not, it was not uncommon to consume powdered mummies and other human body parts as medicine. According to Smithsonian Magazine, in the 16th and 17th centuries, many Europeans, including royalty, priests, and scientists, routinely ingested remedies containing human bones, blood, and fat as medicine for everything from headaches to epilepsy. The powdered remains of Egyptian mummies were often prescribed to treat internal bleeding, blood clots, and menstrual issues. Headaches and other ailments were sometimes cured by ingesting a tincture that was made from crushed skulls, occasionally mixed with chocolate. One of King Charles II's favorite homeopathic potions, known as the King's Drops, combined powdered human skulls with alcohol. It seems that few physicians stopped to consider if this practice qualified as cannibalism. Spoiler alert, it definitely does. That said, now it's time to hear a truly spooky victim story. The tale of the Colorado cannibal. In February 1874, Alfred Packer either fell victim to dire circumstances or revealed himself as a cold-blooded murderer. It all depends on your perspective. Packer, a prospector and wilderness guide, led 5 men into the San Juan Mountains of Colorado in search of gold. Months later, he returned alone. What really happened out there is still uncertain. At first, Packer claimed his party got lost in a snowstorm, but this was clearly a lie since he was carrying belongings from multiple men. When questioned further, Packer changed his story. He said his party had perished along the trail, forcing them into cannibalism one by one. Was this the truth? Doubtful. When hikers later traveled the same path, Packer's story unraveled again. All 5 bodies were discovered near the same camp. Confronted a third time, Packer claimed that one of the travelers, Shannon Bell, had gone mad and killed the others with a hatchet. Packer said that he shot Bell in self-defense and then consumed the flesh of the deceased for survival. Which version of events was true? We may never know. However, a jury convicted Packer of manslaughter. Today, the pass where the man met their grim fate is called the Cannibal Plateau. There are dozens of tales of cannibalism at sea. Stories of desperate sailors clinging to life by gnawing on the bones of their dead shipmates. But the tale of the French frigate Méduse is among the most harrowing. In early 1816, after the Napoleonic Wars gave France control of Senegal, the Méduse sailed south to Africa to take charge of its new territory. Tragedy struck, however, when the ship ran aground 50 miles offshore. It quickly became clear to the ship's 400 passengers and crew that there weren't enough lifeboats to save everyone. Those who couldn't fit into the lifeboats, 147 passengers in total, huddled onto a makeshift raft. Some passengers chose to stay behind with the frigate. Initially, the raft was towed by the remaining lifeboats until someone made the fateful decision to cut the ropes. For 13 days, the raft drifted aimlessly. People died from murder, from being washed or tossed overboard, and from starvation. Eventually, the survivors turned to cannibalism and drank their own urine. By the time the raft was discovered, only 15 people were still alive. The tragedy later inspired one of the biggest paintings of the 19th century, the 16 by 23-foot masterpiece, The Raft of the Medusa. While we're delving into the tales of cannibalism, let's explore the chilling story of Levi Boone Helm, famously known as the Kentucky Cannibal. Helm's life was a dark saga of violence, survivalism, and gruesome acts that have etched his name into the annals of American frontier infamy. Levi Boone Helm hails from Kentucky, earning his moniker not just for his origins, but also for his grisly deeds. From a young age, Helm displayed a penchant for violence, often resorting to bullets or knives to settle disputes. His criminal career was punctuated by a ruthlessness that extended beyond mere survival instinct. A seasoned outdoorsman and survivalist, Helm frequently roamed the wilderness for extended periods, often on the run from the law. It was during these solitary excursions that he committed some of his most horrific acts. Helm's willingness to sustain himself by any means necessary, including consuming human flesh, earned him a reputation as a true predator of the frontier. In his own chilling words, Helm boasted about his deeds. "Many's the poor devil I've killed at one time or another, and the time has been that I've been obliged to feed on some of them." This statement encapsulates Helm's brazen approach to survival, where killing and cannibalism became intertwined parts of his existence. Notably, Helm's cannibalistic tendencies were not always driven by necessity alone. On occasions when a member of his party died, whether by his hand or by other means, Helm did not hesitate to indulge in their remains. In one gruesome incident after a suicide within his ranks, Helm reportedly consumed one of the deceased's legs before pragmatically chopping off the other for later consumption during his journeys. Throughout his notorious career as an outlaw and murderer, Helm's tally of victims is estimated to be at least 11, though the actual count could be higher. His prediction for cannibalism added a macabre layer to his already terrifying reputation, marking him as one of the most feared figures of the Old West. Helm's reign of terror eventually came to an end when he was apprehended and brought to justice in 1864. He was executed for his crimes, bringing a grisly chapter of American frontier history to a close. The true extent of Helm's atrocities and the number of lives he's consumed remain a haunting mystery, adding to the gruesome legacy of the Kentucky Cannibal. In the annals of American folklore and criminal history, Levi Boone Helm stands as a grim reminder of the extremes to which human savagery can descend in the pursuit of survival and dominance. His story serves as a cautionary tale, reflecting the darkest recesses of the human psyche when confronted with the harsh realities of life on the frontier. Considering the grim tales of cannibalism throughout history, which story do you find most haunting or intriguing? Whether it's the desperate survivors of the Méduse, the harrowing ordeal of Alfred Packer, or the chilling exploits of Levi Boone Helm, share your thoughts on these unsettling chapters of human history. Drop your comments below and let us know which story resonates with you the most. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.